Hello, everyone. Look, thanks for joining us for a conversation from the vault. Look, I'm excited for this conversation today as I'm speaking to Aisha, who is Jump Recruit's Vice President of Marketing, and we're talking about Arab American Month, which is right now in April. And so I want to have this conversation with Aisha. So, one, we can learn more. Two, we can get kind of an understanding of what this month really means. And then also, hear from Aisha, on her perspective on the month and kind of go deeper into that conversation. So look, I'm excited to have this discussion and I hope you all are excited to listen. And so Aisha, how are you doing today?
Hey Cedric, I'm great. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great. I'm doing great. Look, I'm excited to, just hop right into this thing and start kind of discussing. And so, look, for the audience, Arab American Month is probably something that, I would say is probably not as publicized as many other months. And so, can you kind of just start from a background perspective and just tell us what is Arab American Month all about? And then, just a little bit of historical context around it.
Yeah, of course. Well, first off, thanks for even opening up this conversation. I think it's really awesome we're able to do this. And Arab American Month kind of started in the 1990s. Some school districts began recognizing it from a historical level to really dedicate this month to celebrating diverse and rich cultures of Arab Americans and their contributions in the US. But it really didn't pick up until April 2017. That is when the US began officially observing it. And President Biden last year, as well as about 37 governors and members of Congress, came out with proclamations of support. So now, on a state level, state by state, they're starting to make more official recognitions for this. So year by year, it's definitely nice to see more recognition around this historical month, and to be able to feel that inclusion of our background.
No, awesome, awesome. And so for people who may not know, and I think that there could be a lot of confusion and misconceptions around this topic.
Yeah.
When you talk about being Arab, sorry, um,
Okay.
describe the group, right? Who is that? Middle Eastern? Is that is it just a particular subgroup? Kind of give us a little context around who would fall within this classification.
Yeah, that's a great question, to be honest, because that is something I think there's a lot of um, a lot of vagueness around who Arabs are, and there's 22 countries actually comprised of
Mm,
Arabic speakers. And aside from the Middle East, you also have North Africa, everything from Morocco, Egypt, Sudan, Somalia, and then across the Middle East as well, going into the Gulf Peninsula outwards to Iraq as well. So, as much as ethnically some Arab Americans may identify as African or Asian, or I mean, I've had this conversation with people saying, you know what, I'm going to check other. I don't
yeah.
have a box, but as far as being Arab American, it truly comes from what the native language of that country would be.
Okay, got it. So
Yeah.
that's some great context because I think that misconception also gets um, presented the same way when we think about like Hispanic and Latina, right? As
Exactly.
far as like those Spanish speaking companies, so that provides a lot of great insights. And so I love also the fact that it's just not skin related, right? It is about a language, which language is one of those aspects that bring people together, even deeper, right, than just a skin tone and skin color. And
Exactly.
so for you, right? You're Arab American.
Yeah.
Give us some insights into, one, how has it been for you, as you've navigated through the workplace, being Arab American, and also, just give us some insights into kind of your experience thus far.
Yeah, thank you. So great question. I think for me, I've really evolved in the way that I am able to share my identity. Maybe so when
Hmm.
I had lesser work experience in my 20s, I was a little bit more hesitant, or I wanted to just tread lightly because I felt like being Arab American from personal experiences seemed almost a little racially charged, unfortunately, in
Yeah.
a post 9/11 world. And then as I kind of came into my own, I realized, this is who I am. This is a part of my identity. My parents, my grandparents, they immigrated here, and that's something to be proud of. So now more than ever, I feel very confident in being able to kind of share who I am. But I can say I haven't always felt like that, just being
Hmm.
honest. And I know there's a lot of friends and family members of mine that have felt the same, in the sense of, like, kind of stay quiet, keep a low profile, in the sense of that. But then at the same time, it's like our name, our skin color, all of those things can kind of share a little bit into the makeup or the fabric of who we are.
Yeah. So just to kind of touch on that for a second, kind of coming into who you were, and being more confident about kind of owning the identity.
Hmm.
Um, was there like a moment that happened, or was there like what kind of got you to that place to where you're now feeling more confident in your heritage and who you are, that got you to really own it?
I think for me, it was really just being able to understand other people's experiences compared to
Mm,
my own, because I had
yeah.
friends, colleagues, family members that maybe came into the US by different means, whether it was a work
Yeah.
visa, whether it was different types of immigration. And then for me to realize, like, hey, I was born in this country, I was born in South Carolina. And sometimes, when people would say, "Where are you from?" I would give them that answer: Orangeburg, South Carolina, that's where I'm from. And they would be
There you
like,
go.
"No, where are you really from?" And I'm like,
Oh no.
okay, maybe you're just trying to figure out, maybe what's my background, ethnic background, or whatnot. So, I mean, for me, I felt that evolution in the sense of having worked in corporate spaces, having worked in startup spaces. It wasn't really about those other people. It was really about me. Like, no one was out to make me feel uncomfortable. No,
Hmm.
or anything like that. And obviously, in a professional workspace, you try to stay away from certain topics, such as
Hmm.
politics, maybe, as hard as that can be sometimes.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, for me, it was more so like, hey, this is my identity to own, and if I feel confident in it, then there really isn't any kind of problem or situation to be had.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. Let me ask you this question though. In kind of the statement that you gave around, someone saying like, "Where are you really from?"
Yeah,
Um, ho- that happens, I think, more than we would like to admit, right?
sure.
In the workplace, when people say, "Where are you from?" and then you tell them, "I'm from Georgia," and they looking at you like this, and they like, so, they don't want to say it.
Yeah.
From your experience, and I think this is something that could really help listeners. How do you, if at all, ask that question
I
when
think,
speaking
yeah,
to
that's,
someone?
yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I think the best way to ask it is, when you say, "Where are you from?" It's such a broad question, right?
Yeah.
So I would say, just be a little bit more specific. Are you curious where
Mm,
someone went to high school, where someone grew up? Are you
yeah.
curious, what's your background? Like, what kind of food did you grow up with? And that
Mm,
was something, like, at least I appreciate food like hummus and falafel is more mainstream. Whereas back when I was in school, I didn't want that in my school lunchbox,
no, me
in
neither.
front of the other kids or anything like that. So I think if someone is genuinely curious as to
Mm,
kind of what
like
your
it.
background is, or how did you grow up? Where did you grow up? That sort of thing, then just kind of ask in a very direct and specific way. And I think if someone is coming from a good place, even just when we think about, being tone sensitive and things like that,
Yeah.
you can kind of tell if someone's coming from a genuine, direct place of just saying, like, "Hey, I'm curious, where'd you grow up?" And if I tell them, "Hey, I grew up in South Carolina," then they'll say, "Oh, okay. Well, did your family live there? Like, how did you guys end up in South Carolina?" And then that can maybe open up a bigger conversation if you're curious about a colleague or a friend's experience, to say, "Well, hey, this is my story of how I came to be where I am today."
No, I love it. I love it. So as we're navigating through this month, um, how can we celebrate and recognize the heritage of Arab Americans during this month? Like, what are some of those things that we could do?
Yeah, that there's a lot of different ways you can celebrate and recognize a month like Arab American Heritage Month. You can
Mhm.
what I just mentioned, touch on the food. There is such a diverse and vast array of food when you're thinking about everything from North Africa and their couscous all the way out to Syria and Lebanon and some of their specialties. I would say across the board, everyone has really great bread and olive oil. Those are two things you can kind of find in any of those 22 countries. And then also, too, just kind of looking a little bit more into the context of history and some of the
Mhm.
contributions. I think Arab Americans have contributed significantly in American history, whether it was,
Yeah.
you know, the first teacher that was on the Challenger in space, or in the military, actors, singers, you know, Paula Abdul. Like you think of like so many notable figures. I know that one was random, but I had a better one actually. The person who pioneered space photography and actually
Okay.
helped with designing the moon landings,
Mm.
the Apollo moon landings. He was an Egyptian American, Dr. Albaz, and he's actually responsible for space photography today as we know it, as far as pictures of the Earth. So a lot of
Nice.
pictures that you've maybe seen of the Earth from outer space have been thanks to his geology and his pioneering in space photography. Fun fact.
I
So there's
know.
a lot of different ways that we can celebrate this month.
We got a hidden figure we didn't even know about. We need to
Yeah,
add that to the
yeah,
mix.
yeah.
Is there any like specific I would say like, books or anything that you think would be, good, or any other kind of, material that, if someone's like looking right now and they're saying, hey, I really want to kind of dive deep, right?
Yeah.
Are there anything like any specific recommendations
Well,
that you would provide?
there are a lot of great organizations. A lot of them are centered out of DC or Michigan. Michigan, actually, the
Okay.
second most common language in Michigan is Arabic,
Did not know that.
because of all the people there. So I would say there's an Arab American network out of
Mm-hmm.
DC. They have their own radio. They do a lot of their own multimedia, and they were responsible for helping really push forth in legislation having Arab American Heritage Month recognized. And then there's also a national committee called the American Arab Anti-Discrimination Committee, and they also put
Mm-hmm.
out a lot of great readings, and they have a lot of great resources too for people that are looking to learn a little bit more about the heritage. I can't really say culture because there's so many different cultures also
Yeah.
within the background. So there's different cultures, um, different cuisines, everything. So I would say just looking at some of those resources from the Arab American Network, and you could find a lot of different tools there.
Awesome, awesome,
Yeah.
awesome. Well, look, thanks for just having this conversation, bringing this awareness to the table. Is there any final words you would like to provide before we wrap?
I would just want to say thank you to you, Cedric. This is the first time I feel like I've had the opportunity to really like voice what Arab American Heritage Month is and creating the space at Jump Recruits. I wouldn't be leading up our marketing efforts if I didn't say that I truly believe our talent hub, our platform, and who we are really, this really speaks and brings it forward to say, you know, we are what we say about diversity and inclusion, we act on. So just appreciate having the opportunity to put this all out here.
No, awesome, awesome. Well, look, thanks for the conversation. Providing some enlightenment for us. Look, I know that there'll be resources that we'll provide, so that people can go and check those out. Links in the description. Please don't hesitate to dive as deep as possible, everyone. So just learn and explore and get better understanding, right? So that we can all come together and have understanding of each other, right, in these spaces, right? So I just thank you for taking the time today. Thank you, everyone, for taking this time to listen to us on this conversation from the vault, and we hope you have a great day.